Today, we start off on Nauru, the smallest republic in the world. The tiny island was once the richest country in the world. On an average, the highest number of overweight people live here. It definitely is the craziest island in the world. Do you want proof? The sports field is actually an airfield. You don't believe it? We'll take you to the tiny island in the middle of the South Seas. Landing is a true challenge for every pilot. The runway is just 2 kilometers short. We count ourselves lucky to have been granted the clearance to land, because normally the runway serves other purposes. People are practicing sports here. The runway is the only sports field on the entire island. That's why the islanders use it as a walking track. Sporting ace Adam does his laps here every evening.
I walk every night after work. If I've got some friends, like my friend here, they took accompany me along.
The runway is a sports field, only while no airplanes are approaching though.
Well, we're doing it because we want to get fit and stay healthy and
live longer.
Live longer.
The practical side to the island. An airplane is due only 3 times a week, but that's when something is going on here. The main road is blocked off because the plane has to cross it in order to arrive at the international airport. You don't think that's crazy enough? What about this? The country is so tiny, it takes only 15 minutes to drive around it. We do the test, and in fact, the country is so tiny, a whole round trip takes you just over 15 minutes. And that's just because you are not allowed to drive any faster than 40 kilometers an hour on the entire island. The great advantage, not a single traffic light on the whole island interferes with the traffic. That's why the islanders are passionate car drivers. On a monthly average, every inhabitant drives, hold on tight to your seat, an incredible 6,000 kilometers. That's 10 times around the entire island every day. It's all just leisure activity. The islanders simply love cruising around. One of them is Yali Beeden. He takes us along on his nightly cruise. But why does everyone keep driving in circles here? And because everyone is driving around in circles all the time, you even have traffic jams. This tiny island has a traffic problem. By the way, everyone has the right of way. There are no annoying sobriety checks. Still not crazy enough? Well, check this out. This tiny country used to be the richest country in the world. Wealth. We had a somewhat different expectation. It doesn't seem that way at all anymore. The houses on the island are shabby and the cars are, well, not really fit for traffic. But this small country really used to be the richest country in the world. To prove the point, rusted luxury limos at the side of the road wherever you look. They are literally everywhere. This is how they ended up here. If a car broke down 40 years ago, it would not be repaired. The people living here were so rich they would just leave it there and buy a new one. People could afford not holding on to coins. Most people just threw them away.
If you ask for 20 cents, you got $1. Like, it was, the lifestyle was just, money was thrown away. Their attitude towards us was, money grows on trees.
That has changed. But why was the island so fabulously rich? The reason? The soil of the island. It looks normal, but in truth it's a phosphate, the purest in the whole world. A valuable raw material which is used for manuring, among other things. Most of it has been mined. The remains will probably last for another 20 years. The crazy thing about it, today the country is bankrupt. The government has wasted billions of dollars. There is nothing left. The island lies in the South Seas, but there are hardly any tourists. Hard to believe, since the South Seas stand for idyllic beaches, great weather and lots of sun. A true tourist paradise, above and under water. But getting here is expensive, and there are just 2 hotels. They are, well, a bit out of date, like this one here, even though you pay more than $100 per room and night. We take a closer look and realize great hotels would definitely not be a reason for coming here. At least the picture on the wall evokes emotions of the South Seas. Hygiene does not play a key role here, which results in bad ratings for the hotels. Wherever we look, we run into the reminders of long-gone guests. And most of the time, the water has gone too. And all of this at the price of a 4-star hotel. That's why only few tourists come here. But do the beaches make up for it? Rather not. There are no tourists here, but a lot of rubbish. A paradise looks different. Sightseeing trips to the island's mainland aren't worthwhile. Tropical beauty or palm tree forests are nowhere to be found. Everything is hollowed out by the decade-long digging for phosphates, and people have just left it that way. But we have found one of the craziest hobbies of the world here. It takes true men and huge loudspeakers and tolerant neighbours. This is the most important day of the year for John and his friends. They're off to a sound competition. The self-built stereo is the pride and joy of the neighbourhood and has been especially tuned for the competition. But what makes you pursue a hobby like that?
Like the bass and like good sound. Like the bass, like you can feel it, something like that. And the top one, so that you can hear it like clearly. That's the one best.
After 2 long hours, the boss is finally happy and the stereo is dismounted. The purpose of his sound check? We have no idea. In any case, the team prepares for a memory shot. Afterwards, they're off at a snail's pace. Our running camera team causes friendly mockery and laughter. The trip to the location of the competition is made in the team's vehicle, which has obviously been used for many sound competitions. We travel across half the country, but since it is the smallest republic in the world, that's not such a big deal. After only 10 minutes, the team has arrived. Nauru is definitely a crazy country. The local women all play bingo obsessively. Hundreds of them hang out in an old factory building in a very relaxed way. The whole night through, they compare the numbers called out to the ones on their sheets. If they are identical, prize money awaits them. It's not that easy to win the sound competition. The opponents show up with almost the same speakers, but in more trendy colours. There are no discotheques on the craziest island in the world. That's why the sound contest is such a crowd puller. But the people here don't dance to the music. They stand around and sit around. The loudspeakers simultaneously blast the competent audience at full volume, while every stereo plays a different tune. After 3 hours, they're all done and would in fact be ready for the jury. But the jury hasn't arrived yet. So everyone just continues to sit around and wait, which, by the way, is a speciality of this crazy island. And then a power cut ends the competition. The decision is delayed until next year. If you have the impression there are especially many overweight people on this island, it's true. There is no other place in the world with more overweight people than in Nauru. The people aren't just a little more corpulent here than in other places. According to figures provided by the WHO, more than 70% of the population is obese and 90% are overweight. Any clothes shop on the island proves the point. In this case, the fashion outlet also serves as a supermarket. The largest size off the shelf is an impressive 6-fold XL. We find trousers into which 2 people could easily fit anywhere else. And mind you, these are standard sizes on the island. But why on earth are all these people overweight? We take a look at where they buy their food. The largest supermarket on the island. It is the most important supply centre for the whole country, with its 10,000 inhabitants. We want to know, what is the locals' favourite food?
One important line we have is corned beef, and it's Nauruans like a lot of corned beef as well in the can lines, and yeah, we've just got one variety at the moment. We're waiting for all the other ones to still come in.
There are mostly tins, cans and non-perishable things. The island is so remote it can only be supplied by ship. That's why all the meat and sausages are deep frozen. Oh yes, what you see here is the fruit and vegetable department of the island's largest supermarket, very sparing of supplies.
Well, as you can see, there are gaps there because we're waiting for our chillers to be offloaded from the ship. A lot of the stuff, doesn't even have time to hit the shelf. They just land here, we open the boxes and they're all gone.
Vegetables are scarce goods on the island. One reason? The container ships which supply the country with food have to take the far route from Asia across the Pacific Ocean to arrive here. It takes them weeks. Fresh goods would turn bad on the way. But the island isn't self-sufficient either, for a strange reason. The inhabitants don't know how to grow vegetables. That's why foreign experts come to the vegetable farm to teach them. Back in the days when the island was so very rich, people had simply stopped growing vegetables.
I only heard from the older people that they used to grow before. But I didn't see it, but I only heard it.
Everything forgotten. That's why the hopes for vegetable farming lie on the young students of horticulture. They attend special classes on the vegetable farm. The question is whether they really want to become vegetable farmers one day.
No.
To be honest, it's gonna take a long time to see everything happen. But at least we try. If you didn't try, you get nothing. So at least we try.
The problem is no healthy diet without vegetables. The sad result, people here especially like this: dry rice, canned meat and fried egg, the national dish.
And in like the taste and the big size. And the white people, they like the taste and the good.
And last but not least, this strange island has one of the craziest laws in the world. It is connected to the islanders' favourite hobby, driving cars. If a puddle comes into play, the full rigour of the law strikes mercilessly. Whoever drives through a puddle and splashes someone goes to jail, in bad cases for several hours. Luckily, there aren't many pedestrians, because everyone prefers driving a car to walking. From the craziest island in the world, we travel on to Zhongdong in China. A very special village in the middle of a cave, as large as an aircraft hangar. 16 wooden huts form a small village.
这是我们的柴火，用来烧、煮饭的。这个房子这是竹片做的，竹片编的，我们自己编的。这是我们的天花板，下雨淋不湿的。
This is Wang Heng's house. He built it himself.
子怡，回来了。
Wang Heng lives here together with his wife, his 3 daughters, and his mother-in-law. They sleep upstairs.
这是我的床，我跟我女儿睡的。这里是人多之后有亲戚来这睡的，因为地方比较窄，我们地方比较窄，放在附近比较。 方便管理。
The cave village Zhongdong. A total of 18 families, almost 90 people, live here far from any semblance of civilization. The doors are always open. There are no locks. Food, clothing, electronic devices, all is used in common.
在这里我生活已经有30多年了。
Pigs, goats, and chickens. The inhabitants keep their own animals for their survival. Slaughtering and smoking, they do all of that themselves. They also grow vegetables. Whatever is left over is sold on the market in the city. They live off these earnings.
在这个山洞又方便了，我们的水又方便了。
Thanks to the drip stones. The water comes straight from the mountains. It's potable and very healthy due to the minerals. Sometimes during spring or fall, it even rains inside the caves from the drip stones. Wang Heng has to go herd the cattle now.
早上我们要去放牛啊，放牛要去砍柴啊。
It truly is an unusual place to live for a seemingly ordinary farming family. To guide the huge herd up the narrow mountain trails is a special challenge for Wang Heng.
养这个羊有很多程序的，很多工序的。早上起来还要给它喝水，喝盐水，还要赶它上山吃草啊。
But how did this cave village come into being?
对啊，以前老一辈住在下面那里，还有那边，那下面那里都有人住的。
The traditional lifestyle is carried on. Wang Heng still has to collect firewood on his way back, so the huts remain warm even in wintertime with temperatures of 10 degrees below zero.
累啊，每天都要这样砍柴的，不砍家里没火烧啊。要煮饭都要用这种柴的。
The kids are spared from this kind of work, but they have to attend their own cave school every day. The teacher Wang Long has been teaching here for 4 years. He lives in the cave himself.
同学们好。老师好。你坐下。今天我们来学一首。
Zhao Feng is an especially keen student. She has great plans for her future.
想当一个医生，我想当。
When the school was built inside the cave, the builders saved money on the roof.
我们山洞上面可以当天花板，下雨刮风都刮不进来。
In their spare time, the kids enjoy painting the cave. But life in the cave can also be dangerous.
那个黄色那个印，以前掉过石头下来， 掉到下面是往上掉的，找不到的，然后往上有点安全一点。
The Damocles sword is constantly hanging over them. But it's not just the stones that are dangerous. The isolation also entails dangers.
啊，他是突然生病了，也不知道，我们都在外面打工，都不知道什么病，就是说突然说肚子痛了就。
They make the best of it. The cave boys love playing basketball. And sometimes when it rains, other inhabitants of other villages come here to play indoors. The crazy thing about it, there has been no need for the cave dwellers to live here for a long time. The government has especially built proper houses for the poorer people in the area. But nonetheless, Wang Heng does not want to move.
这里的房子还有对面那里全部是政府建给我们的，他们想让我们搬过来，但是这房子不好。 质量不好，那个雨会从那里漏下来。下大雨的时候，下雨吹风的时候会从那里漏下来。这个全部掉下来，这是一层泥巴，全部是泥巴来，会裂的。这里，这是外面这一层。
Dilapidated building structures, and that's not all. There is no water. Being left high and dry, unimaginable for Wang Heng.
这的房子都是空的，这也是空的，这房子都是空的，这边也是空的。下面我宁愿住在这个山洞里面，都不愿意住在这种房子。
And so the inhabitants continue living the lifestyle of their ancestors in the 6th generation by now. The cave dwellers intend to attract more tourists in the future. We leave the cave village and travel on to the area near Minya in Egypt. This is a limestone mine in the middle of the desert. The men that work here are working on a tough but also important job. Under extreme conditions, the workers mine limestone, which is then processed into tiles, medicine, and building material in other countries. We have an appointment with Kyrillos. He is foreman of one of the 1,500 mines in the region. Together with his parents, his wife, his 2 children, his 3 brothers and their families, he lives in a small house. He has a particular reason for taking on this tough work every day.
عشان خاطر أولادي وبيت وأسرتي فوالدي كبر خلاص فاعتبر شغلي أنا ده معاشه هنا ما فيش أي حكومة بتدفع أي معاش.
Kyrillos wants to be able to send his kids to school, something that's not a matter of course in Egypt. Kyrillos invites us to spend a day in the mine with him and his colleagues. We show up at the agreed meeting point at 4:30 a.m. But in this complete chaos, we can't spot Kyrillos anywhere. We are loaded on board of a pickup together with 20 workmen. And there we find Kyrillos. The workmen show a timid reaction towards the camera at first. Kyrillos is the only one who speaks to us and shares an important piece of advice.
خطر عشان هي ماشية على طريق فممكن يتفاجئ بحاجة كده أو كده فممكن ما يقدرش يلم نفسه فده الشط بيحصل حوادث كتيرة لا وبالذات على الطريق اللي احنا ماشيين عليها دي اللي اسمها طريق الديش فطريق مفتوحة.
After half an hour of a bumpy ride through the desert, we see the first lights. Is that the limestone mine already? Kyrillos tells his men to hurry up. Temperatures are supposed to reach 40 degrees today, and the day's work needs to be done at all costs. We can't yet see a great deal of the mine in the darkness. Dispersed white dust makes it difficult for us to breathe. The deafening noise roars in our ears. But as the sun comes up, we see it. A 10,000 square meter large limestone mine. We're not allowed to enter by ourselves. Too dangerous.
أنا عايز أشرح لك الكهرباء تحت والخطر بيبقى إيه على الخطر. عايز أمشيك في الأمان تحت. أوكي؟ ممكن ننزل؟ أوكي.
Carefully, Gorillas leads us down a steep stairway. The further down we go, the more we are blinded by the snow-white rocks. Without sunglasses, we wouldn't be able to see anything at all. A surreal setting, like in a science fiction movie, looms before us. These strangely clothed men mine simple limestone here, but the dangers lurking behind the mining are immense. Gorillas leads us directly to a danger zone.
ده أساس الكهرباء. أساس الكهرباء اللي بتشغل الحركة مع المكنة. فدي لو واحد مسكها كده كهربائية. إحنا عايزين حاجة للأمان. لا أحسن. Okay.
Special caution is advised. We are under no circumstances allowed to touch anything. Gorillas shows us how to protect ourselves from the sun with a scarf. The scarf has a great advantage. It protects us from the extreme heat. Temperatures of more than 45 degrees are not uncommon in the mine. We begin to realize what Gorillas warned us about. Open power cables everywhere, a merciless heat and biting dust which hurts in the lungs with every breath you take. If the mining is so dangerous, why do the workers expose themselves to these hazards? There are two reasons for it. First of all, limestone has a long tradition in Egypt. The white blocks have been used as building material for graves and pyramids ever since the First Dynasty. And secondly, the work in the mines is one of the best paid jobs in the region. But the mining is not just dangerous, it also demands utmost precision, in spite of the machines which are hard to navigate, because every single rock must be of exactly the same size. Otherwise, the limestone blocks are useless for building and can't be sold.
دي بتطلع منتج على آخر اليوم بعد ما تطلع نبلوك تطلع عادي وبعد كده تحتها ثاني نبلوك ثاني عادي. لا بعد ياخذ نبلوك ثاني عادي.
Thanks to the geological conditions in Egypt, there is an almost inexhaustible reservoir of limestone. The greater part of the limestone originates from the flat sea and was lifted above sea level by tectonic processes. The first thing we notice, in spite of the sharp blades and the power cables, almost all workmen walk around in flip-flops. Protective clothing looks different.
بنستعملها كتير ودي تبع الحرية. أنا برتاح لمؤاخذة للشبشب. في عمال شغالة بالبوت عادي. أنا ما بقدرش أشتغل ببوت.
The extremely fine dust and the dry heat makes working much more difficult. But the machines and the sharp saw blades also pose a threat. Our cameraman gets too close to the stone saw and distracts the machine operator. The machine tilts and leaps out of track. The workers stop the cutting process and separate the machine from the power supply. Parts of the saw blade have come off. Several of the sharp shafts are missing. That's what the workers fear most. The shafts can fly through the air like bullets.
الفدية دي هي اللي بتشغل الموس. بس لما يتكسر ده من الموس فبيبوظ زي كده ما بيكملش حاجة. ولما يقعد يتكسر ده هو بيرجع المكنة دي بترجع لورا كده بتصد الواحد مثلها. ممكن يتعور.
Luckily, nothing happened. Unfortunately, things have often gone wrong in the past. Throwing the blades away is out of the question. One saw blade costs 500 Egyptian pounds, about $30, and the mine does not yield enough to be able to afford better equipment. To keep costs down is a top priority for the mine workers. Kamal, the owner of the mine, is hardly able to pay for costly equipment. In order for the mine to be profitable, here too it's time is money.
فريق قادم لنا من 2007. من 2007 واحنا شغالين مع بعض خلصنا جبل غير جوه غير المنطقه دي. احنا جينا سنتين في المنطقه دي. انما احنا كشركه المحجر جوه من 2007.
Pressure is high every day. There are many competitors, about 1,500 mines in the area. If you don't deliver, you're out. That's one of the reasons why Kyrillos and his team only take a break after 4 hours of hard work, and they've truly earned it. The men regain their strength eating bread and tomato soup. The first thing we notice, no one eats and rests by himself, because the team spirit is essential.
طبعا كلنا واحد وحابين بعض جدا وشغالين مع بعض شغل بحب ومفيش يعني مش مفرجين بينا وما بين بعضينا. احنا حابين العمل ده جوه. العمل ده هو عملنا، طلعنا احنا اللي جيناه كده.
After the break, there are only 4 hours left to fulfill the daily quota. Then it gets too hot. The guys have to step it up a notch. The men work 8 hours in the blazing sun for about $6 a day. That's about 2 days of food for the entire family. Sunday is the only day off. The men are proud of their work in spite of all the hardships involved.
لا هنا ما فيش معاشات. ده شغل خاص. ده شغل خاص قطاع خاص. يعني لو ممكن واحد يعني كده ممكن واحد يتعور مع السلامة يركب في بيته. لأن ما فيش أي يعني أي لا في تأمينات ولا في أي شيء.
Almost the entire region of Minya lives off the limestone. Almost 45,000 men work as day labourers in the mines. They have no health or social insurance. If you don't work, you don't get paid. Kyrillos is not just a foreman, he's also the owner's right-hand man. He is in charge of selling the stones. One of the customers tries to outwit Kyrillos, but he smells a rat.
هتكمل كم فوق عم عاد؟ لا ده فوق مش مليون من حاجه غير نشمع بس ماشي اللي ورا ده هتكملوا كم رباط؟ هم رباطين بس.
The foreman takes it with a pinch of salt, but prevails in the end. Business is business. In the meantime, the heat gets to us. Temperatures above 40 degrees are too much. As a precaution, Kyrillos takes us into the shade. We've just been here half a day and are already totally beat. That alone shows what a performance these men are delivering. After a short break, we look around some more and discover more workmen at the side of the mine.
أقول لك أي حاجة في دماغي. إحنا تعبانين جو في الشغلانة دي. شغلانة متعبة جو.
The Egyptian workers try to turn every particle of dust into money. They waste none of the white gold. They can't afford to.
احنا هنا زي ما انت شايفه كده بننصب الازاز زي كده وناس ترمي من فوق من البودره اللي هي فوق ورا الازاز دي وناس تعبي البودره اللي هي المليحه دي اما نعبيها في شكاره ونرصها بره هنا ويجينا الجرير اللي هي جرير القاطر العجل الكبير ده.
After 8 hours of arduous work, the men have done it. The quota has been met. They have mined almost 50,000 stones today. Exhausted, but happy that nobody got hurt during the dangerous work, they enjoy a refreshment. The truck takes us back to the village together with the miners. A small group stays behind to guard the mine and the equipment. Shortly after leaving the mine, there's nothing left to be seen of the snow-white landscape, just a barren desert. As is usual here, the workers get their pay in cash every day.
الصعب جو احنا هو صعب على الناس اللي ما عرفتوش. علينا احنا بالنسبة لنا احنا تأقلمنا عليه فأسهل حاجة بالنسبة لنا.
And so Kyrillos and his men will be toiling in the snow-white desert once again tomorrow. We say our goodbyes and travel on to São Paolo in Brazil. This is Rafael. He is essential to the Brazilian recycling system. Even though he doesn't work for a garbage removal company, he collects rubbish from the streets and makes money from it.
Sou Rafael dos Santos, sou carroceiro, tenho 58 anos de idade. Desde 86 trabalho neste ramo de reciclagem. E para mim é uma satisfação, é um prazer muito enorme do meu trabalho que eu faço.
What it means to live off the garbage and how much money you can make by doing that is something we want to find out. We accompany Rafael for a day. We will also get to know his family. The first thing we notice, the huge cart Rafael always pulls along. Brazilians call such a cart carroça. It weighs 100 kilograms and is Rafael's most important tool. He had the cart built years ago and has immortalized his motto on both sides of it. Your garbage is my luxury.
Demais, igual eu amo meus filhos em casa. O principal da carroça é o eixo. Você arrumando o eixo, você está com a carroça pronta. Porque isso vem de um carro, né? Uma barra de direção de carro antigo. Porque aqui é onde você coloca essa borracha, pedaço de pneu, que é o breque. Parou. Entendeu?
In case Rafael needs to leave his carroça behind, he secures it with this chain, because the carts actually do get stolen. Rafael lives and works in São Paulo, a 12 million megacity. The garbage collectors have split up the districts between themselves. This is Rafael's district. Whatever he finds here, he can sell to the recycling industry. Even though he doesn't make much money with cardboard, he depends on every cent. Rafael also offers pickup service in his district. This house owner takes advantage of the offer and doesn't even have to pay for it. Rafael picks up the cardboard for free because he can turn it into a bit of money later.
Tem o outro pessoal que cata na rua. Eu, como tenho os locais que eu retiro, eu já respeito esse pessoal da rua, que eles que recolhem na rua, que eles não têm os locais certos igual eu.
But there is garbage on the streets that yields much more than these huge piles of cardboard. For example, empty beverage cans.
Ela custa mais pouco, custa R$2 o quilo. Já isso aqui é o alumínio de latinha.
The beverage cans involve a longer story, as we will hear later on. But even if Rafael can only lead a modest life collecting garbage, he has chosen so for himself.
Eu resolvi sair, deixar de trabalhar de empregado para trabalhar na reciclagem, estou até hoje. E graças a Deus eu sempre com a cabeça no lugar e cuidar daquela famíliazinha pequena que eu tenho lá em casa.
Rafael wants to introduce us to his family and invites us to his home. He has been together with his wife Sandra for 25 years. They got to know each other at work. Sandra also used to work as a garbage collector. Today, she takes care of the family.
Se encontrava, eu ficava com dó de ver ela carregando aqueles pesos, né? E eu falei, nossa, ó, a menina trabalhando no serviço desse, que é isso? Aí a sorte caiu pro lado, porque é o seguinte, a gente se encontrou, e de encontro foi esse que se transformou num amor verdadeiro.
Meanwhile, the couple has 10 children and even grandchildren. They live together on just a few square meters.
Aí à noite eu ponho colchão aqui, pra essa e a outra dorme. Não, essa dorme aqui no sofá. Aí a outra dorme aqui no colchão no chão, as duas meninas. Essa de 13 anos dorme com o menino lá na beliche. A beliche de baixo fica pro meu filho que chega de madrugada, que sai, né, chega de madrugada. E a outra dorme no chão, ali no colchãozinho também.
The family doesn't own much, but there is internet available. The older ones like surfing on Facebook. Rafael allows himself a different luxury. His passion is music. He is especially proud of his stereo. He relaxes listening to Brazilian music after a tough workday.
A gente fica preocupada, eu fico. Às vezes quando ele demora muito, às vezes eu ligo pro celular dele.
Back on the streets, we understand Sandra's worries when we get to a traffic junction. Rafael struggles to cross the 12-lane roadway without any crush zone. In São Paulo, this is everyday life. Traffic is literally murderous.
Comigo nunca aconteceu, mas já vi acontecer que amigos até morrer, o carro bater na carroça e ele vindo a óbito, entendeu? Mas tudo causa pela falta de uma disciplina.
Rafael is not the only garbage collector in São Paulo. It's a tough competition, each one in his district with his own contacts. Rafael is on his way to one of his contacts. He can collect valuable material at this snack bar, beverage cans. They are made of aluminium and are easy to sell. We look at what Rafael has collected so far. The cardboard yields just 12 cents per kilo. But he has also found more valuable material which will yield more. He gets 45 cents for a kilo of these PET bottles. He sells the cans for 66 cents. He receives about 37 cents for a kilo of soft plastic.
O dia que tá ruim eu ganho. O dia que não tem, igual hoje, não tô fazendo nada. Mas dá para me ganhar meu 100zinho. Então é igual aqui. Mas o máximo por dia é R$300.
This is where Rafael receives his money. In the cooperativa, many garbage collectors work together. The government keeps out. Because each material will later on be recycled in different ways, the main job here is to sort the garbage. The garbage Rafael collects is just a fraction of the cooperativa's junk. The staff collects most of it from apartments and companies by truck. Altogether, there are 26 members in this cooperativa. There is no real boss. João has been here for 3 years already. For him, the Brazilian Garbage Association was the chance of his lifetime.
Porque foi o único serviço que eu encontrei, né, mano, pelos atos que eu cometia. Aí eles deram uma oportunidade e eu achei que era melhor trabalhar do que viver.
Every month, up to 70 tons of recycled garbage are sold here. Apart from electronic devices, cardboard and plastic, we also discover the cans. They are especially guarded.
Fica o pessoal à noite, cara só para tomar conta mesmo do espaço, com os 3 cachorros. Não faz nada, só fica aí, ó. Nunca teve problema de roubo. Uma vez ou outra que o pessoal entra para roubar alguma latinha, alguma coisa, mas assim, roubo sério.
But why are these cans so sought after? They consist of 100% aluminium, a valuable raw material. It costs much less energy to melt the aluminium down from the cans than to extract it from the earth. That's why recycling companies pay good money for the scrap metal. Rafael's family can only lead a very modest life with this income, even though it theoretically belongs to the middle class with an income of $400.
Ele puxa a carroça, mas a única coisa que ele faz importante é que ele está limpando a rua, que eu gosto de cuidar de animais.
Eu não quero que meus filhos sigam o caminho de trabalhar em reciclagem, sabe? Porque eles têm formação, eles estudam, e aprender profissões boas, entendeu? Que é isso aí, eu só não quero que eles esqueçam que o pai deles fez isso.
Rafael keeps on going through the streets of São Paulo with his carroça to make his children's wishes come true. And we move on to Guangzhou in China. There is a very special building among the many multi-story buildings in this city with its 2 million inhabitants. It is completely encircled by a motorway roundabout. The 4-lane road leads all the way around the building, so close you can even look inside through the windows.
It's funny because we're really like going around now. I guess we have to find the way to get through it. Yeah, there it is.
It's surprisingly easy to find the exit. The house has its own. Allegedly, there are even people living inside. Hard to imagine.
This is the closest part to the building, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if you look above,
What does it look like from up above? We want to find out and let our camera fly up into the air. Now the full dimensions are visible. It is in fact an 8-story building, sandwiched by a 4-lane road. Just about 4 meters between the building and the highway at the narrowest point. We learn the highway is not that old. It's the access road to an important tunnel of the city.
You can see the building is not really occupied by many people. I think the first floor used to be shops, but
now it's all closed down. Yeah.
The building seems deserted, but we have made an appointment over the phone. There must be a family living inside somewhere. We look for an entrance.
Maybe you're going to try it on.
There, at a side entrance, a decorated door. We meet 47-year-old Go. He is a taxi driver. We ask him how many people live in the house.
你好，他名字是Martina，您叫什么？
我叫，对啊，现在已经没有什么人在这里住了，只有我们这一户经常在这里住，然后旁边还有1-2户还没搬，其他都搬走了。
There are 7 people on 70 square meters. Go wants to show us the main building first. He, as opposed to us, hasn't seen the disastrous building from up above yet. Almost all other tenants have fled. In the upper floors, directly next to the highway, the exhaust fumes and the noise are unbearable. Go would have left too, but he has a controversy with the authorities. They deny him the right to an adequate substitution for his condominium. Go shows us the way up to the roof. Up there, he says, we'll see why everyone has left.
So let's try to get inside.
On the inside, the house looks like a ruin. The reason? In the beginning, the government had started building measures to protect the tenants, but quickly abandoned them. Half-done building measures are a common means by which the Chinese government gets rid of unwanted tenants, because the building is to be demolished.
New windows? Why did they do it?
It's just fake windows. It doesn't even move. So it looks like the house has window. Doesn't look like broken. So from the highway, so it looks good.
Go improvises a path up to the roof. He has repeatedly tried to make the authorities realize what the highway means for himself and the remaining tenants, to no avail. Up on the roof, we realize it is unbelievably loud.
I'm just saying, it's unbelievable.
Gore's apartment is encircled in a raging highway tornado.
就是晚上的噪音比较厉害啦，因为它这里本来打算我们这边要拆的嘛，所以在这就没装的隔音墙嘛。
The controversy with the authorities has been going on for several months. No one gives way. Gore does not want to accept the government's offer.
但是要造，他们要说要造就造啦。不过他本来说好了，船都搬掉了嘛，就不妨碍它的整体嘛。你看现在我们这个楼没拆，它还是照样通车啊，是不是？
It's not as bad downstairs, says Gore. That's why he doesn't want to give in and stays on for the moment. The government wants to demolish the building and create green spaces. But as long as Go remains, they can't do that. A deadlock situation. Back downstairs, Go shows us his apartment. It's narrow. There are 7 people living on 70 square meters. They try to cover up the sickening smell of the exhaust fumes by using incense sticks. And of course, it's still loud, but nothing like the noise on the roof. Since nobody takes care of the building, several pipes have started to leak. But Go improvises once more. Perseverance is his motto. And the law forbids the government to evict the tenants. But the continuous traffic noise gets to him.
现在也比较吵一点哦，施工的时候就比较乱哦，因为施工的时候呢，到处都是烂的，走都走不了啊。还有那个建筑材料啊，那个休息的时候比较吵的，因为这里它那个隧道没有隔音带嘛。对，从早到晚都有车经过，就比较。
This is the view from the family's living room. Go also shows us the small bedroom. The family sleeps as far away as possible from the window. It's impossible to take a rest here after a long day of cab driving. But it's still better than what the authorities offer as compensation.
Is he angry on what's going on?
对啊，但是我们现在要求也不高哦。我们跟他说的时候，也就是安排我们2个，因为我们现在7口人是属于3户嘛。 我就叫他给2个房子给我们，因为你起码肯定要够住才行啊，是不是？我就一个房子给我们7个。
And so the yellow and white building will stay in the middle of the highway a little while longer, until Go and the authorities have reached an agreement.